the best UK festival lineups of all time.
Glastonbury 2019.
Iron Maiden, David Lee Roth, Halloween, Kiss, Guns N' Roses, Megadeth, Anthrax, Great White, and Treat. In itself, to get all of those bands at one festival is absolutely crazy.
Hello, welcome to the Man Overboard podcast. Today, we're joined by Russ. I don't know, the festival expert, your festival friend.
Yeah, festival friend, I'd like to call myself on TikTok. But I just make content about festivals and gigs, mainly about Reading and Leeds, but I try to cover a bit of everything.
Nice. And on that vibe, today, we're going to give you the best UK festival lineups of all time.
So this is lineups from history. This is the best lineups that we can find on any year, any festival, and that's what we're going for.
And also, towards the end, we're going to give you our favourite Reading and Leeds festival lineup ever. So stick around for that and see. Who wants to go first, guys?
Let you go first.
You can.
No, if you
do honourable mentions.
Nah, do your top ones
Top
first.
ones, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So I don't know, no particular order for me though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so these are my top three. I've got Glastonbury 2019.
What was the lineup like on that?
I've got the headliners were The Killers, The Cure, Stormzy, Kylie Minogue, and Janet Jackson. And then elsewhere on the lineup, you had Liam Gallagher, Miley Cyrus, Tame Impala, Chemical Brothers, Billie Eilish, Miss Lauryn Hill. And I looked at that lineup, and I thought that is amazing. Like the headliners and then the other acts as well. I wish I went to that. Stormzy, you got to think at that time, he just released one album, headlining Glastonbury. No UK rappers ever done it. I feel like just that was like enough to go my top.
Stormzy is such a good performer live
So
as well.
good,
Yeah.
so good.
I was super surprised when I seen him. He was absolutely incredible. Energy on the stage.
Yeah.
Every time he leaves dripping with sweat. He's just sick. And I didn't expect to love him as much as I did.
Yeah.
You loved him as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to see him at Leeds Arena, and it was when he had this tour that was supposed to be in 2020. And it got pushed back and then pushed back again. And when he came out, he said like, I'm surprised that people are still here because I've not released any music. I've not done anything for the past 2 years, and I'm still getting a full arena full of people. And the show was just phenomenal. He's got so much energy, so much power. It's just, it's great.
Yeah.
Do you know, although Liam Gallagher, I've been getting a lot of flack from Oasis fans this week. I said Oasis are one of the most overrated bands, and on YouTube we have hit the wrong algorithm.
Oh,
for
yes,
that.
we have, yeah.
But I'll go in with one of my festivals, guys. So this is a festival that no longer exists. It's not even a thing anymore, and it is V Festival 2007.
Ooh, going back a bit.
Going back a little while, but let me tell you the lineup on this. So bear in mind as well, it's only a 2-day festival. So all these acts are across 2 days, which is pretty wild. You've got Foo Fighters, Snow Patrol, Pink, Kanye West, and Paolo Nutini on the first day main stage. On the second stage, on the first day, you've also got the Kooks, Happy Mondays, the Coral, Baby Shambles, and then a bunch more. Second day, main stage, you've got the Killers, Kasabian, James, and the Fratellis. So just on the, you know what I mean? Just on the main stage across 2 days, Foo Fighters, Snow Patrol, Pink, Kanye West, the Killers, Kasabian, James, and then just some of the other names across the lineup: Basement Jaxx, Lily Allen, Manic Street Preachers, Mika, Primal Scream, Ocean Colour Scene. It's just stacked. And I've just read from the top bit here. I can't even see the smaller names.
Yeah. Even having Mika in there as a smaller name in 2007, that's a huge get anyway.
Yeah.
That lineup is stacked.
Yeah,
That's ace.
Mika were massive, weren't they?
Yeah.
V was such a good festival because it's from my neck of the woods. It's Chelmsford in Essex. And I never went to it, but all of my friends, family, everyone used to go to V Festival. It was such an iconic thing. It's such a shame that they don't have it anymore because they used to get big names for V
Well,
Festival.
I've got a bit of info. So it was cancelled by Richard Branson or Virgin in 2017, and it was replaced by something called Rise Festival.
I was there for Rise Festival.
Were you?
Yeah.
But that only lasted a year. So
Yeah.
Rise Festival actually had a pretty good lineup. Liam Gallagher, Stereophonics, Bastille, a couple more, but it lasted a year. So obviously as big music fans, it's a shame to see any festival go. But V-Fest, I was looking through all their lineups, and they did get massive acts every single year. So
was V-Fest a Virgin thing then?
Yeah.
If it was Richard Branson,
Yeah.
why did he call it quits? What was? Do we know why it ended up ending? Was it
No.
just not profitable? Or
I don't think there was a particular reason. I think that they wanted to change the name and have it as like a festival instead of being related to Virgin.
Yeah.
Right, I
But
see,
then
yeah.
the Rise Festival must not have done that well. And then if you're Richard Branson, you're probably thinking I can spend my time in better ways than on a music festival.
Yeah, I can make better money elsewhere because I can't imagine it's that high much of a profit margin.
Nah,
So.
it's a shame. Bring back V-Fest. Tim, what is your first pick?
So I'm going to go in with V97, and this was in 1997. This is in Chelmsford and Leeds. So this is a very old school one. Very old school.
Chelmsford and Leeds?
Yeah, it's 2 dates.
Oh, Chelmsford and Leeds. I thought you said Chelmsford in Leeds.
Oh, no. Chelmsford and Leeds. Yeah, so it's 2 dates. So we've got Blur headlining on the first day with Cooler Shaker, Dodgy, Reef, and then on the second stage, Ash, Manson, Divine Comedy, and then Chemical Brothers on the DJ stage. On the second day, you had Prodigy, Beck, Foo Fighters, Placebo, Daft Punk, Propeller Heads, Gene, Echo and the Bunnymen. It's just a great lineup. It's not that big of a festival, but for the acts that they've got there and the time it was on, because this is 1997, these bands were fucking huge. And for them to get them on this tiny little, because I feel like this might have been one of the first where they did one festival with 2 sites, where they did like multiple across the UK. I just think it's a pretty solid lineup. Personally.
That is sick. I'd absolutely love to see Daft Punk. You know, they're not even a thing anymore, are they? They've broken up.
No,
But I think if they came back, they'd instantly be one of the biggest acts in the world again. And any festival that got them, it'd be very lucky. I think live they'd be super good.
I think going through the festivals, I was surprised how many times you saw names come up in the earlier years, like before 2010, and that make you think, holy shit, these weren't that big of a band back then. But now they would be seen as like headline acts, and back then they're just like a bit further down the bill, and you think that's fucking if Daft Punk came back and did a show now, headline Glastonbury, everything, you know what I mean? Like,
well, we got through the first round without any clashes. But Russ, what's your second shout for the best UK festival of all time?
Second one, I've got Tea in the Park 2011.
Ooh.
So it's now Transmit now, but Tea in the Park, the headliners were Arctic Monkeys, Coldplay, Foo Fighters, The Strokes, and Beyonce.
That is big.
And then elsewhere on the lineup, you got My Chemical Romance, Weezer, Swedish House Mafia, BDI / Chasing Status, Tiny Temper, Calvin Harris, and Kesha.
That is mental.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest acts from every genre.
When was this?
2011. Yeah.
Fucking hell. So that was peak when most of those artists are at their biggest as well.
I saw that lineup and I thought, wow, I could not believe it. There was more. I've just written some of the big ones there, but there were so many sick acts on that lineup.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's sick. I mean, Transmit, have you been to Transmit?
I haven't, no.
See, I've heard that it's just okay. Like, apparently the setup isn't quite as good as at most festivals in the UK, but I'd like to go at some point. But yeah, that is a sick lineup.
And I wouldn't think that Tea in the Park, well, back then Tea in the Park, would have enough money or caliber to be able to get all of those acts, maybe like 50% of them, but not Beyonce and fucking all that. Jesus.
That's such a huge pull. That's like bigger than most Reading and Leeds lineup.
Yeah, it literally is. Yeah,
that's absolutely that's mental.
Yeah. I think it kind of gives you the consideration. Like, we're gonna keep saying this, where we see smaller acts being bigger, but it makes you consider how like talented those people were back then. They were still billing there, and even nowadays they would still bill as high up as they were then. So they've
continued.
Yeah.
I'll continue on to the next festival.
That was good. That
for
was
me.
good.
And you know what? It is a continuation because it is Tea in the Park 2010, the year before Russ's lineup. And check this, those big acts, amazing. But imagine getting these the year before as well. First stage, you got Muse, Faithless, Editors. Next day, Eminem, Stereophonics, Paolo Nutini, Vampire Weekend, Scouting for Girls, and Chipmunk. Last day, main stage, Kasabian, Jay-Z, Biffy Clyro. It's mad. Dizzy Rascal, The View were pretty big up in Scotland, but it's not just stopping there, boys.
It goes deeper.
Some names, I'm not going to do this by stage, but some names from the rest of the lineup. You've got Black Eyed Peas, who in 2010 were huge. Like
they were at their peak at that time.
Yeah.
They were massive. Black Eyed Peas, Florence and the Machine, Jamie T, The Prodigy, 30 Seconds to Mars, The Cortinas, the Black Eyed Peas again on a different stage, Madness, Groove Armada, The Cribs, Calvin Harris, Mumford and Sons, David and Guetta. David Guetta.
David and Guetta.
Both it's because I went from Mumford and Sons to David Guetta.
Yeah.
But like literally, Calvin Harris and David Guetta are two of the biggest electronic acts in history. Jay-Z and Eminem, two of the biggest rappers in history. Bands Muse, Kasabian, Biffy Clyro, 30 Seconds to Mars.
Some of the biggest UK bands in history.
Yeah. Mental, mate.
Yeah.
It's like all those acts you said are like were like the future of music. I'll guarantee all of them headlined festivals going on after that. It's mad, that lineup.
That's crazy.
It's proper unbelievable. And let me show you this as well. For any listeners, maybe turn on the video for a second because I'll put the picture up. This, for the first couple of Tea in the Parks, this was the campsite.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
It's like mad.
In the middle of
a
river or a lake.
Jesus.
So
what if it rained?
Well, you're drowning. But I was thinking, if you tried having that campsite at Reading and Leeds, everyone would drown.
Yeah. People would be pushing people's tents into the water.
Yeah, people would wake up floating on their airbed. But a little bit of info on Tea in the Park as well. So the festival, it started off at one site and then moved to the what they called their home for many years. And then later on, it was forced to move because there was a gas pipe, or it says a petrochemical pipeline was going under the festival site. So they didn't feel it was safe to keep the festival there, despite it being there for 15 years and doing really well. So they moved sites in 2016, and the year that they moved, 2 people died at the festival, and it was like the rainiest day ever, and it was a national heritage site, which meant that people had to walk like a mile with the equipment. So people just really didn't like it, and then that was it. They said they're just going to postpone it because obviously that went really badly, and then it just in 2019 it was announced it was never coming back. But I think it's a real shame because as far as like a weekend festival camping experience in Scotland, nothing's seem to match Tea in the Park.
No, because even Transmit isn't camping.
No,
it's just a day festivals, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think for Scotland, it's a shame that obviously that went really badly that year. People dying, etc., is awful at any festival. But it's a shame that no one's ever brought it back because you could see the acts that they were pulling on in 2010 and 2011, both unbelievable. And Transmit doesn't quite do the same. So, in my opinion, you need to bring back Tea in the Park in Scotland.
It's a surprise they haven't tried to replace it with anything else. Like nobody else has come along and said, let's have a big, Glasgow festival.
Well, there's a gap in the market
Edinburgh.
now,
That's
isn't
it. Yeah.
Or even if like Reading and Leeds did Reading, Leeds and
Glasgow or
something. Edinburgh or something. Yeah, I think that definitely a gap in the market there, but two sick lineups.
Yeah, that's fire. Yeah, back to back as well. I think we need to remember that that's year on. Like if any other festival did that, I'd lose my mind.
Yeah. Tim, what's next for you?
Right, okay, so I'm going to go with quite a small one here. It's a little bit older, and it was technically, it's a festival, but it's also a touring festival. So there were 6 dates across the whole of Europe, but it was with a hell of a lot of bands. So this is Monsters of Rock 1988. Oh. So this was in Donington Park, which is where Download's hosted. So, it naturally then progressed to being Download. But on this lineup, it's not massive, but the names they had, Iron Maiden, David Lee Roth, Helloween, Kiss, Guns N' Roses, Megadeth, Anthrax, Great White, and Treat, which in itself, to get all of those bands at one festival is absolutely crazy. The size that they would have been in 1988 as well.
Guns N' Roses alone.
Yeah, to be somewhere like... It's these kind of lineups, seeing those, was when those big 5 bands, the big, your Metallicas and all that stuff, would tour together and would, band together and say, let's go give our fans what they want. Nowadays, I feel like we're missing that kind of connection between the bands where we won't see them
it's
tour
very rare
together.
Nowadays.
Yeah, so
I think the only time I can think is the Hella Mega Tour, maybe.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's in the past, 10, 20 years, maybe. I think that's probably the biggest, band group to move around and do.
I think there's a tour later in the year that's the Smashing Pumpkins and Weezer, which is 2 pretty big bands touring together. I'm still tempted to get tickets for that. I haven't yet, but I think it's always American bands that do it. Like you'd never see a British one. Like why don't we get like a Biffy Clyro and Stereophonics joint tour or something? All along those lines, I think it'd sell really well, and it'll just expose both bands to a whole new audience because you don't particularly always have exactly the same fan base.
Yeah, of course.
We need it in the UK, but that's a good lineup.
So, and I think back in 1988, I don't think festivals had the same caliber they do nowadays. So I think just having those bands alone was more than enough for people back then. It would have blown people's minds.
I completely agree. In '88, there's so much interest in live music now, but I don't know if it would have been quite to the same level back then. I'm sure there would obviously been lots of people going to gigs, and you can see that from how popular Queen concerts and stuff
how
were.
Brutal that if it was all on one day as well, you'd be absolutely destroyed. Like just going to see all those bands back to back to back.
I'd literally be deaf.
Yeah,
I won't be able to hear a thing. But Russ, what's your next pick for the best UK festival?
So next one I've got, it's an old one.
Oh.
I was looking through archives of all different festivals and I saw this and I thought, this has got to go in my top 3. So it's Isle of Wight 1970.
Woo! Fucking hell.
Damn.
54 years ago.
So these are the biggest acts on the lineup that year. Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, The Who, Leonard Cohen. And I looked, it cost £3 for a weekend ticket.
Fucking hell, fuck me. Jesus.
Bring back those prices.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
Jesus, that's a hell of a
I feel
lineup.
like all of those guys obviously passed away. That's iconic. Those bands and artists. Imagine seeing all of them in one event. It's
effectively for less than £1 each.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah, true. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. And back then as well, like, because what we need to remember is that the year that it was they would be in the height of their popularity there as well.
Do you know what? I was actually really surprised by Isle of Wight this year. I feel like it has a very strong lineup for the first time in a little while. Like the lineup's never atrocious, but for me, at my age, it's always been a bit more tailored to older people.
Yeah.
Whereas this year they've got like Green Day, Nothing But Thieves, Busted and stuff like that. It's still for older people, but it's more music that translates to the modern generations as well.
I think Isle of Wight, how I see it anyway, is they're aiming for people that are like, I don't know, in their 30s, maybe around that demographic. And it always feels like the reason they're doing it is because the Isle of Wight is predominantly older people that live there. You know, people move away from England and go to the Isle of Wight to retire and stuff. Yeah. So I wonder if that plays into it. So they think, you know, we're going to have an older fan base, an older demographic.
I think they don't want everyone to like trash it and stuff.
That too, yeah, because it's a nice place, Isle of
But
Wight.
I know if you look at the past Isle of Wight lineups, you know what? I completely forgot about that festival when I was looking into this. But some of them years ago were sick.
Absolutely.
Like in the 2000s and 2010s.
It was good.
Do you know, has it been going since then? Or did it like have a break or something?
I'm not sure. It must have been going on for ages because on their website they've got posters that go on for years.
Yeah.
Oh, when you go into the archive for every year. Yeah. That's crazy.
I respect
Stand the test of time.
I've got one more pick for my best UK festival
I'm on one as well.
ever. And it's actually, this is a bit of a weird one because I'm kind of cheating.
Okay.
So-
How are you cheating?
So
Is this a rogue one?
I've taken this as, right, this for me is the best UK festival poster ever. But it is also Reading and Leeds. But I actually think as a whole, it's probably not the best lineup for everyone. So I've saved what I think is like technically a better lineup for the Reading and Leeds bit. But for this one, I've picked my favourite.
Saving face already. Saving face.
I picked my favourite for this. And it is Reading and Leeds 2014. So this is such a mad lineup. And I think if I was to pick festival headliners, all of these would be in with a chance of being in my festival. And it is Queens of the Stone Age, Paramore, Arctic Monkeys, and Blink-182.
Woo! That's good. That is good.
Paramore haven't been back since as well, have they?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
They need to.
Yeah.
Bring back Paramore.
Bring back Paramore.
Take them off that Taylor Swift tour and bring them to Reading and Leeds. But some names from the rest of the lineup. You got Vampire Weekend, Jake Bugg, Macklemore just after he stole the Grammy off Kendrick Lamar.
What year is this? 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enter Shikari.
Got it.
Did I get it?
Why did you? No, why? You got it.
We have like I never pronounce it right, so it's like a running thing. Anyway, them, Jimmy Eat World, Def Havana, Imagine Dragons, third down on the main stage. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan, but they've headlined now.
Big.
Yumi at 6, but then just as impressively, some of the names on the second stage. You've got Cortinas, Bombay Bicycle Club, Disclosure, the 1975, and then just a bunch more. Like if you went down the lineup, there's loads more that you'll have heard of. But for me, a weekend where the 1975 are second on the second stage is just mental. And then like them and Disclosure have headlined since. Cortinas would probably now be like West headliners, like second headliners. So lineup's just incredible. And of course, Blink.
Of course.
The GOATs.
Yeah, the GOATs of all time.
It's got to be on there.
That's fire. That's
it for me.
That's
That is
right.
the best UK festival lineup ever, for me personally.
Okay, all right. Well, so I think that My Reading and Leeds pick is probably the best UK festival, but this is the best UK festival for me outside of Reading and Leeds, and that is Glastonbury 2009.
Damn.
So this is this is one of those ones that, as you keep reading, because Glastonbury's posters are pretty difficult to read anyway, because it's just a bunch of names. Yeah. As I kept going down the list, I kept finding bands and going, that's a main stage act. How is that further down here? So I'll reel off the pyramid stage first. Bruce Springsteen, Neil Young, Blue, Kasabian, The Specials, Lily Allen, Madness, Dizzy Rascal, Tom Jones, Spinal Tap, Tony Christie, Eagles of Death Metal, Status Quo. Already insane. Then you've got the other stage, Franz Ferdinand, Block Party, Prodigy, Pendulum, Ting Tings, Maximo Park, Yeah, Paolo Nutini, Lady Gaga, who's like halfway down the lineup, Enter Shikari, and the Maccabees. Jazz World Stage, we had Q-Tip, Black Eyed Peas, The Streets, Root Maneuver, Rolf Harris was on there. Acoustic Stage, I didn't really know many, but I knew Newton Faulkner and Jason Mraz. Dance Village, we had Calvin Harris, David Guetta, Chase and Status, Chipmunk, Craig Charles, which made me laugh because he's just been around for so long now.
He's still at every festival.
He's just still doing it. Dead Mouse was halfway down the lineup. LaRue, Mr. Scruff, who I only know because he had a song that was baked into Windows 7. Weirdly, I don't know why.
I thought that was you.
The Chemist, Tinchy Strider, and Wiley.
Mad.
So Tinchy Strider and Wiley and Chipmunk all on the same stage is insane already.
Yeah, back what was this, 2009?
Yeah.
This was kind of when they were hitting mainstream success, wasn't it?
Yeah. So then John Peel stage, you had Jarvis Cocker, who's the frontman for Pulp. Doves, Echo and the Bunnyman, Jamie T, Gaslight Anthem, Wombats, Florence and the Machine, halfway down the lineup again. Good friend Just Jack was in there, moving around. Avalon stage, didn't really know anyone but Will Young, which at the time, that's a big get. Yeah. Glade, you had DJ Fresh, Beardy Man, who's a beatbox guy, Dub Pistols and Rusco. Then the amount of stages they have was crazy. It just keeps going.
The Glastonbury lineups every year, like I always see the headliners, and to be honest, a lot of the times like it'll just be like one headliner that I'm really into.
Yeah.
And then when I look at the stages further down, I'm like, oh, there's just a full stage of indie rock. Oh, there's just a couple pop punk bands thrown in there. Oh,
there was a stage called Thrash City which had Dub FX on there, which was quite cool. And then Queen's Head, which I can't figure out is maybe like. I thought it might be acoustic, but they have an acoustic stage. But this had Jason Mraz, Maximo Park, Bombay Bicycle Club, Dan Lissack versus Scroobius Pip, which is some old school stuff there. And then the Wombats as well. It just has something for everyone on that lineup. Just from top to bottom, there's names. I think you could choose any stage there, and you'd know at least 3 or 4 artists from it. It's just so slam-packed.
I'd be sprinting. I'd be running around the festival.
You'd have to, yeah. The amount of names that they managed to fit into each level of that was phenomenal.
That lineup is mega. Do you know, I actually didn't have a Glastonbury on mine.
Oh.
I just thought, I didn't think anything. I just looked at a few of them, and when I saw the headliners, I was like, I can't for myself put it in because I might like Arctic Monkeys that year, or I might like whoever it is that year, but the other ones I don't really care about.
It was for me.
Madonna.
For me, I more so went on there being something for everyone. The names on there are so big, and some of the names that are small are now big. So if you manage to get a chance to see them then, that would have been net game changing.
Do you know what I do want to call out though? You mentioned Block Party in that. And I think that Block Party are one of the most underappreciated UK indie bands ever.
They definitely are. Did we see them support Paramore?
We did see them support Paramore. And unfortunately, that's the only time I've actually seen them. But their first album, it was Silent Alarm, I think. And that is one of the best UK indie rock albums ever. And Block Party are relatively big. Like most people who are into indie rock know who they are. But they had their mainstream stint and they never came back to it. But even their last EP was amazing. Mm-hmm. And they're doing an outdoor like festival type show like Fender and Jamie T did this year in London. And I'm actually really tempted because I've never seen one of their own sets, but I fucking love them. Like they're so good.
Yeah. Who was it they opened for? Taylor Swift? No,
Paramore.
Yeah, because Sam Land from TikTok, he went to see that tour and he told me he was like the only person singing along to all their songs.
It was crazy.
Was it Manchester?
Probably.
We were probably at the same gig.
Yeah, and it did feel like that where it was like they played stuff like Helicopter came on and everyone was just kind of like,
no one
just moving the head a bit, like jamming to a song that was good that they didn't know. not actually going, oh, I know this tune. It was so bizarre. They're so underrated. It's criminal. It's criminal.
People need to check out Block Party, man.
They do, yeah.
They really do. Anyway, should we move on to our favourite Reading and Leeds lineup?
So what are we going to do here? Are we going to do honourable mentions and then the best one? Or are we going to do the best one out the gate?
I think we just do the best one.
Okay.
We've been doing the best ones. Let's just do the best one.
Yeah.
So, shall I go first? I feel like I'm about to, so I may as well.
I feel like you were ready to do it, so let's just do it.
I'm still like debating which one of these to pick, but I know which one I'm going to go with.
It's difficult.
Are we doing one best one?
We're doing like one best one and then a couple of honourable mentions afterwards.
All right.
So, the best Reading and Leeds lineup of all time is Reading and Leeds 2003.
Ooh, okay. I need to check my notes now.
Reading and Leeds 2003, the acts there include Metallica, System of a Down, Sum 41, Primal Scream, Good Charlotte, The Used, Sugar Cult, Linkin Park, Blink-182, Placebo, Jay-Z. I don't know anyone else on that day, so I know less than Jake and Bowling for Soup for you, scumbag. Blur, The White Stripes, Beck, Dove, The Streets, The Libertines, The Darkness, and then on the smaller stage you've got people like AFI, Elbow, Interpol. The Music are quite big, but I don't really know them that well. But anyway, for me, right, the middle day of this festival could be all the big acts, all the main headliners at Reading and Leeds, Linkin Park, Blink-182 and Jay-Z. On one day.
And the fact that Jay-Z's so low down as well. It's crazy.
It's absolutely mental. Like any day, really. The next day, Blur, The White Stripes, they could both headline now. And then you've got like The Streets on that day, Beck. I've never seen it. 2003, what was going on?
Even further down on the 2003 lineup, because I had this as one of my honourable mentions, you had like Billy Talent, Franz Ferdinand, Keane, Alkaline Trio were there as well. It's just a star-studded cast. Why
bring it back? Although to be fair, the lineup this year is very good. I'm not hating on this year's lineup.
It is, and also Just Jack 2003.
We love Just Jack.
Scissor Sisters were there as well, which again is a big get.
I've never heard of them.
Scissor Sisters.
No,
really? You do this a lot. I'm not gonna buy into it.
Russ, do you want to go in next?
Yeah. So I've got my best ever Reading and Leeds lineup. I've made a TikTok about this as well, this exact lineup. It's the year 2000.
Ooh.
So the headliners were Stereophonics, Pulp and Oasis. But also on the lineup, you had Slipknot, Rage Against the Machine, Blink-182, Foo Fighters, Limp Bizkit, Ian Brown's Solo, Black Eyed Peas, Beck. They're the names I've got, but yeah, again, just
that's
stacked.
Insane. Just that on its own. Yeah, that's crazy.
That sort of period when they were proper going with the heavy metal and rock and indie, they just were getting all the best bands at that time.
And consistently too. Like as if you go through all of the lineups from maybe like 2000 to 2010, you can see what demographic they were going for and how nowadays they've kind of veered away from it and kind of swapped things up a bit, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's good to have that. Yeah. But when they were focused on one demographic, they really hit the nail on the head, didn't they?
Yeah, that is my honourable mention. My one Reading and Leeds honourable mention is this lineup. And there was a big band that I wanted to call out that I don't think you mentioned, and Muse headlined the second stage.
Oh, did they?
So that's another band now who have headlined and still would that are absolutely massive. Yeah. So just crazy, man.
That's great. I didn't even clock that one either.
How much, if that Reading and Leeds lineup came out today, what's the maximum you'd spend on a ticket to go see all them bands across a weekend?
If money was no option, I could just spend whatever I wanted. I'd pay easily up to £1,000.
Yeah,
for that.
Yeah, for those bands. Yeah,
I agree. Same with both. Even my pick as well. Yeah. So Tim,
yeah,
what's the best Reading and Leeds of all time?
Here we go. The best Reading and Leeds of all time is Reading and Leeds 2008.
Oh.
So this year we had Friday main stage, Rage Against the Machine, Queens at Stone Age, the Fratellis, Biffy Clyro, Serge Tankian Solo, which is the System of a Down vocalist, Dizzy Rascal, Taking Back Sunday, and Anti-Flag. On the Saturday we had The Killers, Block Party, The Raconteurs, Editors, We Are Scientists, Subways, The Automatic, and The Blackout. And then on Sunday, which was the stage that I couldn't not choose this one, you've got Metallica, Tenacious D, Slipknot, Feeder, Avenged Sevenfold, Dropkick Murphys, Plain White Tees, Alexis on Fire, and Mindless Self-Indulgence. And a blue.
Not the Amazon woman.
and then just to go through some of the names on the other stages, you had Wombats, Vampire Weekend, MGMT, Manic Street Preachers, Bullet for My Valentine, Foals, Kids in Glass Houses, Bombay Bicycle Club, Pendulum, The Cribs, Less Than Jake, Pennywise, Goldfinger, Frank Turner, Alkaline Trio, Flogging Molly, MXPX, Cancer Bats, Gaslight Anthem, Lethal Bizzle, All Time Low, Cage the Elephant, Florence and the Machine, You Me at 6, Dan Lessac versus Scrooby as Pip.
Rose forgot to breathe.
Woo! I tell you, this lineup honestly is phenomenal. For me personally, I think for absolutely insane.
This one in comparison to ours, for me, has better mid and small level artists.
Yeah. And the other thing that they did really well this year was the alternative stage, which is where they would either feature acts that perhaps weren't that musical or comedians. And some of the comedians, they had Henry Rollins doing a solo set, I think. But then they had Michael McIntyre. They had Jack Whitehall and Milton Jones. And those three now are all huge comedians. So they were also on the bill. So if you wanted to just go have a little bit of a laugh in between sets, just go over there.
Have you ever actually gone to see a comedian at a festival?
I haven't, no. But I would absolutely love to, though. There was some...
Yeah, but you wouldn't, because there'd always be a band you'd pick over.
No, I don't think so. I think there are some comedians that I would go and see over other people.
I don't know. I don't know
if I believe you. There's some names that have been announced recently as comedians on some... I can't remember which lineup it was, but I'm very tempted to go, and that comedian is the reason why I want to go there.
Okay.
To be fair, I went to a truck festival last summer, and it wasn't very summery for the majority of it. And I actually did go see a couple comedians because it was indoors under shelter, so it was pigging it down. And I was like, I'll go here and have a pint and watch a comedian. And it was a lot of fun, but I've never done it at Reading and Leeds or any other festival I've been to. I like the idea of it, but I like music that much that it's very rare. Unless it was... The problem is, if it's a comedian that I really like and I've heard of, they're probably going to be on headlining at the same time as one of the acts that I want to see.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to do it.
Yeah. Whereas I quite like comedians as a whole, so some of the names that were further down for me, I'm like, oh, that's so and so, and oh, they're on this, and that's what they're from. And I think shows like Taskmaster and stuff like that kind of sheds light on some comedians' names. So then when you see them on the lineups, you go, oh, I've seen them on this show. It kind of gives you more reason to go there. But I mean, as an all-rounder for anybody, I think anybody could have attended that festival and found something 100%. That they would have loved.
Even like they chucked in Lethal Bizzle there.
That's it. Yeah, it's just easily my favourite. And that Sunday, you were saying you pay up to $1,000 to go and see that whole festival. I'd pay up to $1,000 to go on that Sunday alone.
Nah.
Absolutely insane.
Mad. Bring it back. Although, this year the lineup's good.
I'd love to see Tenacious D 2 festivals again. I would love to see that.
No, I'm not really that bothered about them. I can't lie.
Fine, that's fine.
Like, I'd go see them, but I wouldn't. If they were a headliner, I'd be like, oh.
I think I'd go just for tribute, to be honest.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and because it's Jack Black, and you get to see him in person. Oh my god, it's Jack Black.
Yeah.
Do you think that Jack Black is one of the most universally liked celebrities in the world? Because I never hear anyone say a bad word about that man.
It's Jack Black and Paul Rudd. Those two are in that
Jack
category.
Black's even got the younger generation now after doing that Mario movie.
Yeah, and he had Jablinski Games on YouTube where he had a gaming channel as well that he did with his son, which is so wholesome.
Was he in the new season of Mandalorian as well?
Yeah, he was.
He's actually such a legend, isn't he? Actually,
because it was him and Lizzo, wasn't it? They did a little scene together or something.
Do you know what's a core memory for me? In those summer festivals last year, at Truck Festival, I watched School of Rock in like a big old warehouse thing, and it was chucking it down outside, and everyone was just sat there singing along to every song of School of Rock, and it actually was a wholesome, fun moment.
I think he's just great, Jack Black. You can't fault him, can you?
I love him. Russ, did you have some honourable mentions for the best Reading and Leeds lineup ever?
No, not for Reading and Leeds.
Oh, just in general?
Yeah, just in general. I've got some. So, got 4 honourable mentions.
Go for it.
Go on.
So I've got these. They're a bit varied here. So I've got Lovebox 2018.
Okay.
So Lovebox was a festival. They don't do it anymore, or I don't think they do it anymore. It used to happen in Victoria Park in London. Mm-hmm. This was one of the last ones they did. The headliners were Childish Gambino, Skepta, NERD, and SZA.
Jeez.
And that was it. Yeah, that was in 2018. And Childish Gambino rarely plays gigs. So the fact they had him as a headliner in London.
Well, to be honest, all 3 of those headliners are super unique.
Yeah.
When was this?
2018.
And they got Nerd back together with Pharrell and what the hell? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, because I remember when this happened. I was going to get tickets. I remember I was so broke I couldn't afford it, so I didn't go.
No.
So it's always been playing in my mind. Next one, it's a festival that actually didn't happen because of COVID. But I was going to go to it. The lineup was amazing. Boardmasters 2020, the 1975 Skepta, and Kings of Leon headlining.
Oh, that's sick.
Also on the lineup, you had Sam Fender, Lowell Kana, Frank Carter and Rattlesnakes, Little Sims, Pale Waves. Thought another good lineup there, but it didn't happen, sadly.
That's all artists, especially in that year, that were like right at the peak as well. And then adding like Sam Fender and stuff, who were about to hit like big time. So I would love that.
Another thing with that festival as well is that it's Boardmasters, and I think there's no other festival in the UK that has has the same vibes and like. Because it's on a beach, isn't it? In Cornwall.
The fact you can just go in the sea,
it's
go
crazy.
for a swim, and then go back to your campsite.
So I think that adds like 20-30% of appeal to it anyway. Yeah. So then when you've got the big artists as well, that sounds great. That sounds great.
I bet if you went to Boardmasters, you wouldn't even shower, you just go for a swim.
Probably, yeah.
Nah, that'd be horrible though, because like it's fun swimming in the sea, but you get so like dry and salty afterwards.
Less salty. You should go for a fucking dip.
Whoa, don't be like that. What's your next shout, Russ?
V Festival 2011. The headliners were Eminem, Arctic Monkeys, Rihanna, and Plan B.
Mad. Plan B? What happened to Plan B?
I don't know, because he was at his peak around that time. He did like that Strickland Banks album. Then he made a film after. And
it was Ill Manners, one of the film.
Yeah, that did quite well. And
didn't he have that song with Chasing Status around that time?
Yeah, that was around that time.
Was yeah, that's the tune.
Since then, he's not really done anything in terms of music. But I've got his record at home. I used to love him back then. I've got two more. I've put Download this year because I actually love the Download lineup this year.
It's a decent lineup.
Hey, don't you be chatting. You've hated on it
I
all
haven't
year.
hated on it. No, I've hated on one aspect of it, which is that Fall Out Boy, I don't think a Download headline is. That's my take on it.
Well, they are.
But as a whole, I think it's a good lineup. You know this. Fuck off. I'm not having that.
I think this year is my favourite lineup. And when you just look at the acts, like when you have acts like Wheatless and Busted on there, I just think it's perfect. I love it. One more, Glastonbury 2016. They had Muse, Adele, Coldplay headlining. I'm not the biggest Adele fan, but I can appreciate
It'd
how
be so
big she
good
is.
to see Adele. Like her live vocals are that good that I just love to see her.
But also that year, you had the 1975, who haven't played Glasgow since then, Skepta, Earth, Wind and Fire. I think, just straight stacked.
Yeah. I think that was one of those people I'd like to see as well, because it seems like she's quite, I don't know, involved with the fans, and she does a lot of talking. And when she's not singing, she's the most like common sounding, just like "you're right, love" kind of thing. I think she's ace. I think she's really good. Yeah.
All right. What was the festival with Childish Gambino called? Lovebox.
Lovebox. Yeah.
Do you know? I feel like if that doesn't exist anymore, we need to bring that back, because in terms of like rap, it's not really rap, is it though? But there isn't a festival like that at the minute. There's Wireless, but that's more tailored to a different type of rap and a different type of audience.
I'd say the festival that probably contends it the closest is that one in Manchester, the
Park Life, is it?
No, the one that Denzel and
Outbreak.
Yeah, I think it's Outbreak. Yeah,
and but that had like Childish Gambino.
No, I know.
SZA.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in that era of like
where they've got JPEG Mafia and pop punk bands and
and it's got the kind of, I wouldn't call them underground artists, but I'd say they're not really mainstream.
Yeah.
They're huge artists, but not in the mainstream. They're huge with their fan base.
Yeah. Outbreak's getting bigger and bigger every year as well. I can see that in a couple of years pulling acts like that.
Danny Brown might be there as well this year.
No, I think
touring though.
JPEG Mafia and Action Bronson.
Yeah.
One of the days. And then the next day's like American football and Hot Mulligan, I think.
True.
It's a very cool lineup. If you like that type of music, I would definitely check out Outbreak. But boys, I think that brings it. Did you have any honourable mentions?
I've got a couple.
Oh yeah, you go bring them up then. Bring them up.
So my honourable mentions mostly revolve around one man being the headliner, and it just seemed to happen that way, unfortunately. So one of them was going to be 2003, which is what you chose as your main one. 2013, Reading and Leeds for me is pretty phenomenal. You had Green Day, Eminem, and Biffy Clyro headlining, And then some of the smaller acts, you had like Skrillex, Alt J, ASAP Rocky, Knife Party, which is Pendulum's side project, which is cool in
I
itself.
always forget that, you know, because when I was in high school, I really liked Knife Party, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together till later.
Yeah. I think I think it was good that they chose to release that kind of music under another name because it kind of stopped Pendulum becoming a dubstep.
I think this year at Leeds Festival, I'm going to go see Pendulum instead of Liam Gallagher.
You should. You definitely
I've never
should.
seen Pendulum. I've seen
Honestly,
Liam a few times.
I went to see Pendulum recently at Leeds Arena, and it was one of the best shows I think I've been to in a while. It was very, very good. And they are a band. They are a band.
It's
I nearly
a tough
sent you a
choice,
video
though.
of me. I purposely filmed every member of the band, and I was going to send it to you, but I don't think I did because when we spoke about them in the past, it's like, are they really a band? And you'd be surprised.
I know they are, but
like all the drum beats and all the electronic sounds come from guitars and an actual drum kit. It's pretty impressive. But some of the other names on there were System of a Down, Chasing Status, 9 Inch Nails, Deftones, Fall Out Boy, Bring Me the Horizon, who were criminally far down but it was 2013, so it was just before they started to appeal to mainstream masses. And then you had Tame Impala, Imagine Dragons, Disclosure, Don Broco. And then my other honourable mention for Reading and Leeds would be 2017, which is Kasabian, Eminem, and Muse, which for me...
I was there that year.
Were you?
Yeah, I was there that year.
I'm so jealous.
that was my first ever Reading and Leeds.
Yeah.
I hate it because I find so many people... I've never seen Eminem live, and I'm such a huge fan of him. And in 2017, I was down in Birmingham on the Sunday when Eminem played Leeds Fest, and my mate messaged me, and he was like, "Oh, my friend can't come through. Do you want to come to see, you know, Eminem's headlining and that?" But I was down in Birmingham, and I had no money, no way to get back because my train wasn't till the next day, and I was just sat there just stewing because I was just like, no.
You know, it's funny as well. I was 17 when I went that year, and I got the weekend ticket on the Friday on the day for 70 quid for the full weekend.
Come on,
that was like the best deal I've ever had.
Some of the other names on there just quickly: Bastille, Major Lazer, Liam Gallagher, Korn, Fatboy Slim, Jimmy Eat World, Lethal Bizzle, Andy C.
You love Lethal Bizzle.
I do love Lethal Bizzle. I do.
You're the only one that would pick him out of all the names.
I don't get why people don't like him more.
No, I
though.
do like him. He's good, but he's not like
great.
a big name.
He is to me.
Yeah,
I'd say he's bigger than like your Tinchies and that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's held it. Like he's had more longevity, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and Chipmunk,
Tinchy
bigger than
did number
Chipmunk,
one.
I'd say.
Nah.
I'd say more people. If you said somebody Lethal Bizzle versus Chip,
If you ask the general public
Yeah.
about who knows more Lethal, who would know Chipmunk or Lethal Bizzle more, people would know Chipmunk more.
I think Bizzle.
Nah,
think
Chipmunk had a
that's a hard
couple.
one. I
Chipmunk
think it
had a
depends
couple
who you
top
ask.
10 songs. I mean, the general public.
Yeah, I think Bizzle.
Nah,
I think it depends who you are. That's a hard one, to be honest.
I think Bizzle. I'm
Same
standing
with
by
more
Bizzle.
people would know Tinchy as well, and he's not done anything
Yeah,
in
not
years.
over Bizzle though.
Yeah, they would.
All right. Well, moving on anyway. Marshmallow was on there, which is, you know, a huge name now. And for 2017, it was still a big get. Billy Talent, While She Sleeps, Neck Deep, Danny Brown was there, The Hunter, and Flatbush Zombies. There was a lot of catering to rap fans that year. A lot of like kind of niche big rappers that were on there. And I don't know if it was the tie-in with Eminem being there and all that, but I really liked that year. That was a good year. It was close to being my pick for the best one.
It is pretty good, other than Lethal Bizzle.
All right.
But
That year, when I was there, I went to see gigs and he brought out Drake.
oh man,
was that the Reading show?
Yeah, because we were stuck between J Hus or gigs, and I thought I'll probably see J Hus again. I might not see gigs again. We went and he brought out Drake. I could not believe it.
Best decision ever.
Yeah.
But I think when I've seen clips of Reading, it looks like that's the wildest the crowd has ever gone.
It is. Yeah, and I don't think it's ever been like that since, to be honest.
The thing is, a name like Drake to come out as a surprise act, to not even be on the lineup anywhere, like that's big. That's big.
But on Reading and Leeds, obviously you've done both festivals.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, what's the differences between them, and which do you think is actually better?
So there's a few differences. Obviously, the lineup's exactly the same. What I learnt is different about Leeds is Reading's in the town centre, whereas Leeds isn't. So when we came to Leeds, we stayed up the night before and we had to drive to get to the place. Whereas in Reading, you could literally walk from the train station and you're there. It takes you about 5 minutes walk. So like for me, who lives in London or Essex, it's easy for me to get to because we've got the Elizabeth line, which goes straight to Reading, and then get all your stuff. You're there.
So is it set up on a field that's in the city? It's not. It's not throughout the city.
No, so I've never been there when it's not been Reading Festival, but it must be in a massive park. There's this massive park. It's along the River Thames. So it's easy. Like if you want to go out into the town, you can get bits, and like it takes 5-10 minutes to go out and come back in. The one thing that I can't say anything Leeds has over Reading is like you've got Piccadilly Party, you've got Relentless. Things go on till a lot later because Reading's in the town centre.
Oh,
we've got the curfew, so
yeah.
all we can have is the silent disco, and that's it. But I'm getting on a bit now, so I don't really mind that.
yeah. It's better that way. Yeah.
After the silent disco, I'm going straight to bed, so it doesn't really bother me nowadays.
I think that's pretty valid. I knew that Reading didn't have LS23, etc., but I enjoy it. But I more enjoy the option of it. Like when I was at Leeds this year, I went one night to like 2 a.m. and then the other nights I was more just chilling, chatting shit with the boys. Because to be honest, I quite enjoy just sitting out, having a beer and just chatting with the speaker on anyway.
Yeah, that's my favourite thing to do as well, to be honest.
What do you think of like, is there a difference in crowds, in people at all?
Yeah. I mean, Reading is quite rowdy, but Leeds was like, the people were crazy, honestly. Some of the things, we had like all of our rubbish in the middle of our campsite, and we normally like take it on the last day. But on the last day, the security were like, you have to move that, otherwise people will come and set it on fire. And I know I've seen it at Reading before, but no one's ever told me, you make sure you move this, otherwise your campsite will go be set on fire.
They're going to light it up. Yeah.
So we like, well, okay, get rid of this stuff now. But I'm not sure what it was like at Leeds last year, because last year at Reading, they were hot on the fires and that.
Oh, Leeds last year was completely fine. There was nothing. In fact, I would say that they put a lot more time and energy into like little security pods around the campsites and stuff. The year before was a lot more questionable. Like you probably saw stuff online and whatever. There was a couple of fires. I do think it was blown out of proportion.
Yeah,
it was a little bit. Yeah. But it was bad.
I do also remember, like, on the last night after Arctic Monkeys, because they were the last day in Leeds. I remember being sat at my mate's tent, because I was in Brown, which is like the most chill campsite in Leeds. And you could just see like random fires on all the hills. And there was a big one started near us, and people just throwing their full tents on there and chairs and everything. But this year was sound. Literally didn't see anything.
The thing as well to remember is that I don't think... I mean, festival organisers can do a lot to try and like stop that from happening, but you're never going to be able to stop a crowd of people doing what they want to do at the end of the day. So I don't think you can really blame the festival organisers for the people that are there. But you know, there's ways they can quell it. But I think they've taken steps to
I think they did a really good job last year, because there was not. I didn't see any fires, and if someone did do it, from what I saw, it went out straight away,
instantly on it. Yeah,
they even took my deodorant off me. I got chosen to be checked when I went in, and they took my deodorant off me. So
so you couldn't, because it's an aerosol. Right.
So I didn't have deodorant. I had to borrow.
Yeah.
Oh, it was rough for me. Every time I went through security when I was bringing in more beers, or we went home for a shower every day, mate, every time, because my friend ours with smokes, and it just meant that we just got stopped by the dogs. We didn't have our honours at all, not one time, but we had to get fully searched, and it was so long every time we went in. But on festivals, we ask every guest that comes on the podcast for their dream festival lineup. So, Russ, we want a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday night headliner for your dream festival.
So we get a lot of different options for this. We get some people that bring back, you know, dead artists to collaborate with a live artist. You know, it could be somebody deceased, it could be somebody very recent. We've had everything, I think, so far.
And feel free to throw in a few smaller acts if you want to, but you don't have to.
It's a difficult one to be sprung.
I know straight away, Friday 1975. Always.
Just kind of expected it. Not going to lie.
Tim is not going to this festival.
I think they're obviously not on the same level, but one of my other favourite bands are Don Broco.
Oh,
maybe you could have them sub-headlining.
Yeah, Don Broco sub-headlining.
That'd actually be a pretty good billing, to be fair. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad at that as much as I wouldn't be mad.
You'd be there, vibes. We went to see Don Broco at Leeds Arena last year, and I had a works do, so I went in like a full suit pretty much to Don Broco. I had jeans, fancy shoes, a white shirt, and a tie on at Don Broco at Leeds Arena.
Did you take a tie off during t-shirts on?
I don't know if I did actually, I can't remember. But anyway, Saturday night, who you picking?
Saturday night, I think this is the one where people go with the big band, the big energetic. Here we go.
Oh.
If he says the 1975 again, it's game over.
The second album.
Yeah. Let me think. Maybe a controversial one, because I know a lot of people don't like him. MGK.
Oh,
this is making Tim's eyes.
I I am not coming to this festival. You couldn't pay me to come to this festival.
I've said many times, and I'll say it again. Tickets to My Downfall is one of the most underappreciated pop punk albums, definitely of the last few years, but probably of all time.
That's given me a little hint there, hasn't it? Yeah, I wonder what's coming up in the future.
Yeah.
But I think I agree with that statement that the album did a lot for pop punk, but me personally, I'm not a fan of MGK. I can't.
I would go see. I've seen him last year, but I've never seen him headline a festival. But he was actually one of my predictions for this year's Reading and Leeds.
I think he'd make a good headliner though. I think that is a good shout. Like he seems to put on a good show, and he has a good like crowd interaction. He's got a great presence, so I think it's a good.
He even has that helicopter.
Yeah, it's sick.
Comes down on a helicopter now.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
That's quite sick. Actually, I'll give him that. That is pretty sick. Yeah.
He is good live. He puts on a good show. You've got one. Oh, do you want to pick a sub headliner for that day? Anyone comes to mind? You've got Don Brocco on the first day.
Off the top of my head, I'm listening to a lot of Charlie XCX at the moment.
Okay,
so Charlie XCX.
Charlie XCX into MGK would be the strangest crowd ever.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I think half the crowd would be gay.
Well,
literally.
The half wouldn't.
Yeah, but it's a much higher ratio than usual.
Yeah. And the Sunday headliner, probably my favourite UK rapper, Skepta, I'd say.
Nice.
That's a shout.
Nice.
That's a shout. Yeah.
Maybe
So
with Boy Better Know as well.
Oh,
You'd have the whole of Boy Better Know with him. And a sub. Let me just quickly look at
it. Is tough.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah. When
So-
it gets sprung on you.
So we got the Dream Festival from Russ so far. Don Brocco, the 1975. Who was the
Charlie
song?
XCX.
Charlie XCX and
MGK.
Machine Gun Kelly. Sunday, we've got Skepta and...
Skepta BBK.
Yeah, Skepta / BBK. I love Jamie, but he just doesn't release music anymore. Do you know what, though? Have you seen the interviews with him?
I was going to say, do you know what? No, at the same time, you were going to say it then.
Have you seen the interviews with Jamie? He's like, I don't really release music because it doesn't mean anything to anyone anymore. He's like, I've got loads of music, but I'm just not releasing it. And I'm like, what are you on about?
Why?
Like, well, he's saying because everyone uses streaming, it makes music meaningless effectively. And I just don't agree with that. And I also think, well, just don't release it on streaming then, bro. Just release a couple vinyls, a couple CDs.
Well, Dre's been doing his little tour, his like circuit on the interviews and all that recently, and he's recently said that maybe about 20% of the songs he's completed have actually ever been released. So 80% of the music he's working on. So how much he's released is only 20% of what he's got in the bank. And he just does it because, like he says in all of his songs, he's just like, fuck you all. You're not having an album. You don't deserve an album, basically. Yeah. But I think it's so weird that you wouldn't just go, oh, okay, go on, have it.
Yeah. If you're one of the biggest musicians in the world, I suppose you want to put out stuff you're very proud of.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So
I think I'd go... I was going to say Bring Me, but I feel like they can't sub. They'd have to.
Sub is Skepta.
So I'll keep it to the UK rap on that day. We're going to go Corrupt FM.
Oh, that'd be fucking fire. That'd be so good.
Do you want to tell us your dream festival from top to bottom?
Yeah, so Friday it's going to be 1975 headlining with Don Brocco sub-headlining. The Saturday, MGK headlining with Charlie XCX sub-headlining, and the Sunday, Skepta and Boy Better Know headlining with Corrupt FM sub-headlining.
Fire.
That's actually, you know what? I can't be mad at that. I cannot be mad at that.
I love this because if I said that, he'd fucking strangle me.
Yeah, but that's different.
So anyone listening to a future episode where Tim is slamming Machine Gun Kelly of the 1975, but with the 1975, you proposed to your now fiance at one of their concerts last year. What motivated you to do that?
It's they've always been my favourite band, like from as long as I can remember, since I first started listening to them. And when I first met my fiance, one of the things we started talking about was the 1975. She knew of them. I love them so much. I was just talking about them non-stop, and she got into them, and she's loved them ever since. So she's a massive fan. We've been, every tour they've done since we've been together, we've gone to it. And when they said they're going on hiatus, is their last tour, I thought this is the perfect chance. Yeah. And we had, Manchester's our favourite city. We go all the time to Manchester. So I thought, what perfect time to do it. We had brilliant seats. We're like at the front, not down below, we're at the top, but at the front of our section. Yeah, I was bricking it though.
Oh, I bet
I was bricking it.
Not surprised.
I'd have been shaking, but that's such an amazing moment, and especially like, as you said, for you to have both been so into the band. and it just gives you the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm happy it went well. Imagine if she said no and you had to, it'd then become your least, it'd be your least favourite band.
Yeah.
Whatever song was playing, you'd absolutely hate. But what are your favourite 1975 tunes? Tim can't really chime in on this bit. Sorry, Tim, but I'm a huge fan. So I'm just intrigued what your favourite songs are.
Whenever I go on TikTok Live, people always ask me this, and I can never pin it down. I just can't.
You can give a couple. It doesn't have to be like 2 or anything like that.
Probably at the moment, Frail State of Mind. Milk.
Yeah.
I love Milk. People. I love People.
People wasn't on the previous tour, at their very best, but was on still, and I was buzzing with that because I love that track as well. I think it's obviously the heaviest song, but I think it always deserves a place in the set list because it just switches things up a little bit.
Yeah. Saying that, one of my favourite songs, which I feel like I don't ever hear anyone talk about, is If I Believe You.
That is quite good.
From the second album.
Yeah. It's on my playlist, but it's on my like relaxed playlist where I'm just trying to chill and not get up too much. But what a band. I absolutely love them. I'm trying to, what would my picks be? My picks would probably be If You're Too Shy.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, just for me, that's like just brings back so many fun memories, like across Europe and etc. Just having fun seeing that band, and it's the one that all my mates and my family like, so everyone loves it. It's like universally. I really like Guys.
Yeah, that's a nice song.
Sorry,
that's actually awful. That is so good that it's bad. I don't know what to say. Off the first album, The City has got to be up there for me. Yeah. I love The City. But to finish things off, Russ, I wondered if there's any artist, you kind of already answered this with your festival, your dream festival, but any artist you're listening to at the minute that you really like that you just wanted to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, so there's one artist, I spoke to you before about it, an artist called Bilk, who I've been listening to a lot. They're getting a lot of hate at the moment. A lot of people don't like their stuff. I like their stuff. But so Bilk, they're like an indie rock band from Essex. There's another band from Essex, which they're good friends of mine. They're quite cool. They're sort of rap / R&B / sort of punk. They've got a few different vibes with their songs. They're called Mystery Team.
Nice. I've heard of them, but I think it might just be through you.
Yeah, I like that I like the idea of those genres mixing together. I might give them a shot.
Yeah, and there's one more band, good friends of mine who, they're from London and Bristol, so they're like, they are grafting. They always meet up together. They're sort of like alternative punk / rap, because they've got a lead singer and a rapper in there.
That's cool. I like that.
And they're called The Odd Project, but they're the 3 bands, like not massive bands that I'm listening to at the moment. Who, I think if you have a chance, go and listen to them.
Yeah, I'll definitely listen to them. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If you're listening and don't already follow Russ, I'll leave a link to his, probably TikTok is the best one, in the description. But thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed this.
It's been good. Had some good lineups there.
Nice one, boys. Decent.